Spiral escalators. Yes, they really do exist. They're not very common, but they're out there. There's very clever engineering to get a regular escalator to work, but when you curve that shape, everything becomes far more complicated. Each step has to stay level, evenly spaced, and perfectly aligned. For decades, engineers believed this couldn't be done safely or reliably, but with clever geometry and some surprising mechanical solutions, that changed. In this video, we're going to go deep inside, first to see how regular escalators work, and then the complex challenges to design and build a spiral escalator. Spiral escalators were once believed to be impossible. It seemed too much to develop a mechanism that could lift and curve at the same time. To understand why, we need to look at regular escalators. They've been around for more than a century now. The idea of taking regular stairs and having the steps move, this was revolutionary. But how about curved stairs? We've been building these for thousands of years. They're everywhere in architecture. Could we make these steps move in the same way? It wasn't until the 1980s that a company designed and actually built one. And it was not easy. We'll look at the details in just a minute. Even today, Mitsubishi Electric is still the only company that builds spiral escalators. They are custom built with some parts handcrafted and installed by specialized teams. There are a lot of companies that build regular escalators, and you'll find them in just about every big city. But spiral escalators? Not so much. Worldwide, there's only a small number of them, estimated to be around 100, and most of them are found in Asia. So why are spiral escalators so rare? The answer becomes clear once we understand how they work. And let's start with a regular escalator. Each step is its own separate piece. There are wheels attached to the bottom, and the top of the steps are attached to the step chain. These are connected wheels that are very flexible. This is what pulls the steps forward. The wheels on the bottom of the step and the step chain are guided by separate tracks built into the escalator's frame. The tracks have to be built so that the steps always stay level for the passengers to stand on. Because, well, this would not work. It'd be way too dangerous. Let's straighten these steps out again. The steps can't flip over until the passengers have a chance to get off. At the top and bottom, large wheels called sprockets loop the steps around in a continuous cycle. On the bottom side, the steps don't need to be level. Once the steps loop around the other side, they're ready to go for the next passengers. A motor, usually at the top, drives the entire system. It turns a gear, which spins a chain, which turns another gear, which pulls on the step chain. That same motion is transferred to what we call a friction wheel. This is what pulls on the handrail. On most escalators, the handrail will move just a little bit faster than the steps, slowing down over time as the friction wheel wears down. All of this is supported by a metal truss or frame. There are several safety features built in. Many steps have yellow areas to discourage people standing too close to an edge. You may also notice that the steps have grooves on them. These fit perfectly into the comb plate at the end. This helps prevent things from getting stuck. There are also brushes along the side called skirt deflectors. These help keep feet away from moving parts on the edges. It's not often that we stop to consider how incredible this invention is. So many moving parts that all work just right. So why would you want to complicate things with a spiral escalator? Let's be honest, do buildings really need spiral escalators? Maybe, maybe not. It's really a premium feature. Many people are amazed when they see one for the first time. One of the most famous examples is the Daimaru department store in Shanghai, China. This shopping mall has stacked spiral escalators on top of each other, going up to each floor. You can get incredible views as you ride them up. So why don't we see these everywhere? It really comes down to money. Like curved stairs, it can be more visually appealing, but it's a bit of a luxury. A straight escalator might cost tens of thousands of dollars. Spiral escalator can exceed $1 million. They are custom built for each building they are used in. Now that we understand how regular escalators work, we can talk about some of the challenges of a spiral escalator. Despite the name, they aren't true spirals, though it would be cool if it looked like this. Instead, they don't loop around, they simply curve, usually less than half a circle. But that curve means the escalator must rise and turn at the same time, adding a new layer of complexity. Because of the curve, steps can no longer be a rectangle. Instead, they'll be the shape of a trapezoid. Watch what happens when we line up the new edges. You see where I'm going with this? There can't be any gaps in the middle, and it has to be flat at the top and bottom for passengers to get safely on or off. At first glance, it seems simple enough, but there's actually quite a few problems to solve here. And learning to solve problems like this is what I love about today's sponsor, Brilliant. For years now, I've been a fan of the way that you can learn new things with Brilliant. But now, this is the new Brilliant, like having a really smart tutor to give you personalized one-on-one help. This is the most effective way to learn, and Brilliant is now making this possible for everyone. If you get stuck and don't understand something, just ask. Koji, I'm not sure where to begin for this problem.
Let's take a look at this together. What does the expression...
You get personalized help with every problem. These courses start at grade 5 and go all the way to college and beyond. They're designed by leading experts from MIT, Harvard, and Stanford. And you don't need to schedule your learning. You can do Brilliant whenever you have a few extra minutes and it's convenient for you. Scan the QR code or click the link below to get started with Brilliant's tutor for free. And when you want to unlock all the courses, you can save 20% when you upgrade to premium. Just use my link, brilliant.org/JaredOwen. The first regular escalators appeared in the late 1800s. Not long after, there actually was an attempt to build a spiral escalator. This was in London, and it was intended to bring people to and from the underground tube stations. It wasn't really an escalator as we know it today, more like a spiral conveyor, mostly made of wood. A neat idea, but I have to admit, I'm not sure I would have wanted to ride on it. After testing, it became clear that the design was unsafe and unstable. It was never open to the public, and for nearly 80 years, that was the end of the idea. That all changed in the 1980s. A Japanese company finally figured it out, and it was not easy. The math is complex, but I think we can explore the basics. First, we're gonna need some 80s music. Yeah, that's it. Okay, put your thinking caps on. Let's begin with a circle. And now let's simplify it to just part of that circle. And then we'll raise it at one end. Now we're curving and going up in 3D space. If our steps can follow this curved path, then we have the beginnings of our spiral escalator. Okay, really simple example. We have a flat curve. This is the inside edge and the outside edge. If we compare the two, you'll notice how the outside is longer than the inside. On our spiral escalator, that means that the sides are different lengths. The outside edge has to be longer and move faster. On a regular escalator, for the steps to stay perfectly level, the sides need to move at exactly the same speed. Well, that's easy. But on this spiral, the outside has to move faster, but not too fast. Otherwise, the steps won't be flat to stand on. Not so good. Let's keep them level. So this works great, but at the top and bottom, remember that the steps have to be flat for the passengers to get on and off. This changes the direction of our steps, and it's where things get interesting. We've got 3 sections now, the incline section and 2 flat sections. The shape of our steps worked perfectly as we're going up, but as the steps flatten out, we start to have problems. The trapezoid shapes run into each other on the inside edges. This is not good. Our step chain also gets stretched on the outside just slightly. And to make things even more complicated, we've got to loop those steps to come back around. This means even more problems balancing out the sides of the escalator. This design assumes that we have the same center point, or in other words, looking from above, it's part of the exact same circle. But there are too many issues for this to work. Japanese engineers created a very smart solution to this. Since the top and bottom are the problem, let's straighten it out just a little bit. This fixes our steps so they don't run into each other anymore, and the step chains are just the right lengths again. This is called the centralized motion method. It's almost like our spiral escalator is now part of 3 separate circles, at least when you look at it from up above. Let's look at just one of the circles. When you straighten a section of this circle out, you're actually making this invisible circle bigger, which moves the center point farther away. So the incline part of the spiral escalator doesn't change. Same curve, same circle. But we straighten out the curve at the top and the curve at the bottom. Now we have 3 separate center points. One for the bottom, one for the incline, and one for the top. This is the secret to building a working spiral escalator. Now, on a regular escalator, the gears at the end are the exact same size. Simple enough. On the spiral escalator, they found it's best to have gears on the outside be bigger than the gears on the inside, always making sure that the steps are perfectly level on top, but it doesn't matter once you get to the bottom. They can be slanted. On a regular escalator, the chains must be flexible up and down, but it can't move to the left and right. For the spiral escalator, the chains had to be designed differently. Along the way, they have ball joints, so the chain is more flexible, but at the same time, still strong enough to hold all that weight. The chains have bars that go in between them and wheels on each end. Because the chain is being pulled up in a curved motion, the chains have a tendency to be pulled inwards. Here's another way to think about this. We have a rope in a curved shape. Now imagine I pull this rope on one end. What will happen? The rope in the center will slide inwards. This is the same thing that happens with the spiral escalator. It has a tendency to slip off the track. Not good. To prevent this, extra side wheels are placed along the outside to prevent it from slipping. If you're familiar with roller coasters, these wheels should look very familiar to you. It's the same idea, to keep us firmly on the tracks. And finally, steps are placed on each bar. They can pivot freely. This is the same idea as the regular escalator. Wheels on the bottom of the steps ride on separate tracks. This is what ensures that the steps are always level when they are on top. Creating these spiral escalators is an enormous challenge. The metal tracks must curve precisely for everything to work just right. The goal here is to make the spiral escalator just as smooth as a regular escalator. The first spiral escalator was installed in Osaka, Japan in 1985. Now there are several in Japan, China, and a few other areas across Asia. The United States does have a few spiral escalators as well. The most well-known one is in Las Vegas, Nevada at Caesar's Palace. A spiral escalator isn't just a machine, it's what happens when engineers refuse to accept the straight path.